One of the most exciting sectors in India, in our economy, is civil aviation. Think about it. Just a couple of years ago, Indian consumers had very little choices. But now, with the emergence of several large airlines, with a very proactive government policy, we are among the largest in the world. We've got a very special guest with us, Mohan Naidu, the Civil Aviation Minister. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Let's reflect a little on that first. Do you believe that India can be a major international hub going forward in the way that, let us say, Dubai is?
Absolutely. Just to start with, India is the third largest domestic civil aviation market today. And totally we believe that it can be number one in the coming days. The progress that we are seeing with 10% to 15% growth rate in civil aviation. And one of the priority areas for us to create the hub. I feel not just the push is coming from the own government itself and from India, but geographically, strategically, if you look at the positioning of India, there is a natural push there of India emerging as a hub. So everything is playing along, and I totally believe that we are going to emerge as a hub in the coming days.
That also depends on the government and the private sector working together. For example, we've got record aircraft orders from Indigo and Air India. Nobody would have imagined, India buying so many aircraft. That has to be matched by infrastructure on the ground, whether it's airports, more runways, and a lot of that. Do you believe that might be your biggest challenge, matching infrastructure with the demand and the orders?
In fact, when we talk about infrastructure, we have already started building up the infrastructure. In the last 10 years itself, from 74 airports, we have grown up to 159 airports. So the airlines have to catch up now. The demand is there, the infrastructure is there, and even the existing airports which are there, we have expanded the capacity because we believe that in the coming days, the traffic is going to grow more and more. And like you said, if you look at the global orders also, India has the most orders for aircraft fleet now. So what we are trying to do as the government is encourage these manufacturers to give us the orders at the earliest, because we feel the demand is already there. And what we need is the more aircrafts coming in to cater for the demand, to provide more connectivity and to provide more affordable rates also.
Are you satisfied at the pace at which aviation professionals are being trained, whether it's pilots or cabin crew? Because that is an ecosystem which has to grow at the same pace at which the sector is growing.
Absolutely. Right now, we have a good capacity of training happening, let it be the pilots or the aircraft maintenance engineers or whoever is involved in the aviation sector. But like I said, we have more than 2,000 orders in place today. And imagine when these aircrafts come, the number of workforce that you would need in aviation itself. So we are trying to expand the skilling and training centers that we have. We are talking with Airbus, we are talking with Boeing, we are letting them open more simulator facilities, and we are spreading our airport network which we have. There are these smaller airports where the activity is little less. So we are trying to cater them for flight training organizations so we can have more pilot training organizations. So we have that vision in mind that we would need more workforce into the aviation sector, and there is a conscious push from the government itself. And the opportunity here is not just the 2,000 aircrafts which are going to come into the Indian airspace. I am looking at capturing the workforce that's going to be globally developing. So we want our Indian workforce to go globally to different other airlines and try to take an advantage of the opportunities that are available there, and people from other countries also. Let them come to India, let them get trained, because aviation I see globally is also very emerging, and especially in the Asia Pacific region, there's a lot of potential for growth there. So it is the right time for us to capture on the skilling and training workspace, and definitely we are moving in that direction.
We have new laws also, the Bharatiya Vayuyan Adhinayam. It modernizes the sector. Why was it necessary?
It was necessary because it was a pre-independence act that was there before, and a lot of the amendments that have been added to the original act was kind of made the whole act in a very disorganized manner. ICAO, which is the International Civil Aviation Organization, has recommended many times that we need a very comprehensive with the latest legislative procedures being involved in the act, and that is what we have done. And we have brought in a little bit a touch of Indianness in it by naming it the Bharatiya Vayuyan Adhinayam. So the ICAO has been a major contributor in bringing this new law. And one important aspect that we have brought in this new law is that we are trying to recognize India as a state of design and maintenance and manufacture. This was not there earlier.
Let's talk about MROs because you're mentioning that. How is that critical? It's not just about flying the planes; it's also about maintaining them. How can this be an industrial hub for airlines across the region?
I know this MRO business, the maintenance, it has been hiding under the carpet for a long time.
Yes.
And whenever we talk about civil aviation, it is the planes and the travel, the airports, which get a lot of limelight. But what we are missing out is a great opportunity on having the MRO sector, which is a revenue generating sector, which is going to earn us a lot of money and also give us a lot of jobs. So the government, especially in the last 10 years, has put a lot of focus in growing the MRO business. In fact, if I can give you a number, we are only able to do 20% of the whole MRO business that a plane goes through. So imagine the kind of capacity we have, the potential we have to grow forward. In that sector, the government has also taken some proactive steps, and our vision is to grow from 2 billion, which is MRO business, $2 billion US business right now in the country. In 6 years, we want to double it and grow up to $4 billion, and we are on the way. The growth rate that we are seeing in MRO business is definitely very encouraging for us. And one thing was there was multiple slabs for aircraft components which we are importing for the MRO business. Some were kept under 5%, some were 12%, 18%. They attracted different kind of tax slabs. So what we did, so that to unify the whole process, we have brought in a rule that everything will come under 5%. So that has streamlined the process of MRO a little bit. And also we are renting out our existing airport spaces at a very low rates to MRO businesses, so that many outside the country MRO spaces can also come to India and establish their network here. And many other decisions have been taken in terms of the warranty that you provide when a plane gets the MRO thing done in India. So these are small things, but we feel these baby steps are going to create a lot of buzz and a lot of activity in the MRO business, and definitely from the industry. We are seeing that positiveness, and we see that in the coming days, like I said, the target of reaching $4 billion is on the way.
You must have had a very difficult several days when we had these bomb threats. And the numbers were huge. It cost our airlines a great deal of money having to make these calls. Are we any closer in our investigations to knowing who was responsible?
It was a very challenging time, but I would like to congratulate the way the whole team under civil aviation, under the Home Affairs, especially the investigation agencies, how they've all collaborated in trying to curb the situation at the earliest. And in fact, from our side, just so that it doesn't blow up out of proportion and doesn't become a continuous process, we brought in a change in our rules also. Aircraft security rules, we amended. We brought in a no-fly thing for these perpetrators who are trying to do these kind of activities. All the threats have been hoax calls, fake, all of them. All of them, because we had the mechanism.
There was no credible threat.
But like I said, the investigation is a thorough process that we have to follow. The investigation is still going on. Couple of instances we were able to catch the person behind it, and it was supposed to be more like a prank kind of thing. So it was a child from Chhattisgarh who was caught in Maharashtra, and the other incident from Delhi also, where it was like he had some issue with a friend who was traveling in the plane, so he had to do something of this sort. So to discourage those kind of things, I felt that we needed some kind of legislation which becomes a deterrent. It's not a play area that you do pranks with the running of the planes and the airports. So we are trying to bring in some stringent laws, and especially the security and offences related to civil aviation. We have a Suaska Act, and we are trying to bring in one legislation for that. We have sent it already for the interministerial consultation. Once it comes in, I'm definitely going to bring it to the parliament also. Keeping that aside, the whole system that we have, I think they are pretty much prepared to these kind of instances. That's what I've seen personally also. They were very much prepared to adapt themselves, the security teams, the ministry, the bureaucracy, everyone was hands-on on the issue, so that they all collectively work towards getting a solution as early as possible. And regarding the institution, we are in continuous communication with the investigation agencies because it comes under a different wing.
Where is that investigation? So it's not just one person.
So most of the cases, according to the law, get registered in the police station under which the airport comes in. So it is with the local police, and police is a state subject, so most of the state departments.
Many actors is my question. There were many people responsible, or was there some sort of collusion between people?
So that is still what the investigation has to provide us. So we're still waiting on the report for that. the agencies that are involved, the state agencies are involved. Then there is the NIA involved. So IB involved.
Were there international
So
attempts
the
at...
NIA is thoroughly looking into it.
Do you believe that there was a larger sort of effort at stalling the aviation sector,
I really
or
can't comment on that right
random
now unless
people?
the report comes in. So it's very it'll be very immature of me to comment it at this.
But there is a report which is coming in, which
Definitely, every case has to be closed. So the investigation is definitely going on. So we are giving it proper time so that we get the facts right. So let them come and present to us.
none of the threats were credible. That's the bottom
Yeah,
line.
that's the bottom line.
Let's talk a little bit about helicopters as well. We've underachieved in India with civilian helicopters. There are a couple of factors. A, there is demand. B, there is safety. Operating in the Himalayas, for example, is very difficult. The viability of the companies also has to be looked at. What are you doing to enhance helicopter operations in the civilian sector?
We totally believe that there is a huge potential for helicopter operations in the country itself. And another number for comparison on how much we are lagging behind, Brazil as a country has more than 600 and India as a country has around 250. So imagine the kind of potential we are just wanting to encash on. We are trying to see from a regulatory side what can we do so that we can promote more helicopter business in the country. We have seen that we should set up a separate wing in the ministry. So we are starting a directorate for helicopter services, the rotary wing. Otherwise, dealing the helicopters just like you deal with the regular fixed wing aircrafts is not helping a bit. We have spoken to the industry also, we have taken their feedback and they have suggested let's have a certain setup within the ministry which deals with our problems directly. So the directorate of helicopter services is definitely going to be a big push for them. And also we have brought in Heli Seva, where many of the services which the helicopter operators need, we have made it digital, so there is a lot of accountability and transparency that has come in right now. And more than that, we are talking to the states now to create some kind of models, let's say in medical side, where they can have medical ambulances. And then there is tourism which can be explored. Now we have Char Dham Yatras, where helicopter services are very actively used. Imagine the kind of potential you can create when you create these kind of temple circuits, Buddhist circuits, or many good places that you have. So we are actively engaging with the states that why don't you create these kind of places and kind of provide some kind of support so that we can have more helicopters into the airspace. So regulation we are taking care of. In terms of encouragement, we are talking to the states and we believe the steps that we have taken now is going to give us a good push in the future.
Are you satisfied with the steps or the rules which exist to ensure that unruly passengers are effectively dealt with? Airlines face all sorts of problems, different circumstances, and there is a certain way in which people should respect, crews on board aircraft, fellow passengers. That often gets violated. Do you believe that this needs to be more strictly implemented, the laws?
It's
a difficult.
It's a very difficult situation in the sense we have more than 5 lakh passengers traveling every day. And I've told you about the growth story also. You'll have more passengers coming into the network. And when you have so many people traveling in these aircrafts, using the airports, definitely there are going to be some issues which are going to flag up. And the way the world is changing, the way people, their attitude, the mentality and everything is changing. So definitely we are going to keep our ears and eyes open. We are going to observe what kind of situations are coming our way. Definitely the law that we have right now, we feel it is good enough for the incidents that are happening today. But if anything crosses the line of the law and if there is a pressure, there is a need that arises, then definitely we proactively will move in that direction. We care for the safety of the passengers. We care for the convenience of the passengers. And especially when I took charge as the minister, I've mentioned these words that I want our people to have convenient, comfortable and affordable travel. So no matter what legislation I look at, what kind of changes I want to bring in, at the core, I want to keep the Indian passenger in the heart and make my decision.
I noticed buying water was much more inexpensive at Indira Gandhi International Airport the other day. That's one of the small steps that you took.
Yeah,
but that's so important. A bottle of water I picked up for 10 rupees. It was much more a few months back.
Yeah, so it is an inspiration taken from our Prime Minister's notebook. And he famously says that Hawai Chappal se Hawai Jahaj ka safar. And we have kind of moved in that direction. We have brought in the Udan scheme, which has democratized the air travel. We have brought in more routes into play. We have connected the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which was not viable for the aircraft operators. But we have brought in some kind of scheme so that we can connect these routes. But one interesting gap that I observed was people were still a little bit irky about the prices at the airport. Then I said, when we are trying to have these lower income groups come into the air travel network, then you should be making them the services also a little bit more comfortable for them. That's how the Udan Yatri Cafe is what we are calling it. So this came into play. We have launched it recently in Kolkata also. We have done it. Excellent response from the people, and we are trying to scale it up now.
Thank you, Minister, very much for speaking to us. So, his most expansive interview, I dare suggest, on civil aviation so far. Mohan Naidu speaking about the potential of the Indian aviation industry, whether it is the creation of India or India becoming a hub, to helicopter operations, to flight safety, to recent threats which have taken place, to ultimately passenger safety and passenger convenience.